Welcome to Destination Declassified. In this video, we'll be counting down the top 10 most popular conspiracies that have shaped our opinion on what is real and what is not. Before we begin, we'd like to give you the definition of conspiracy, which is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful, or the act of plotting or conspiring. With today's modern vocabulary and ever-changing language, the word itself can be misconstrued or used in various ways. In general, it is attributed to stories of mystery, deception, and the unexplainable. So without further ado, let us delve into the top 10 most believed conspiracies that will most certainly get you thinking. Leave a comment down below on which of these 10 you believe in or think hold some weight. It most likely will not be this first one. We'll start with a conspiracy theory that has garnered a lot of interest in recent years. Flat earthers believe, as the name suggests, that our tiny little planet is actually a flat surface and not a spherical entity, as physicists have stated. The leading theory by those in the community, many of which do not hold scientific qualifications, is that Earth is actually a continuously flat disk, with the Arctic Circle residing in the centre of its surface, and that Antarctica is a 150-foot tall wall of ice which surrounds the rim. They claim that NASA employees are stationed around the perimeter to prevent people from climbing over or falling off its edge and into the never-ending abyss of space. The conspiracies of a possible flat Earth scenario came to fruition as far back as the early Egyptian and Mesopotamian periods, where in many texts and illustrations the world was portrayed as a disk floating in the ocean. A pseudo-scientific belief was established by English writer and inventor Samuel Rowbotham with his 1849 pamphlet, Zetetic Astronomy, the contents of which inspired fellow pamphlet writer and social activist Lady Elizabeth Blount to establish the Universal Zetetic Society in 1893. Before the rise of popular belief groups, Samuel Shenton, an English conspiracy theorist and lecturer, set up the International Flat Earth Research Society in 1956, having been considered a direct descendant of the Universal Zetics. Based on the literature and beliefs from the flat Earth community, many are most likely motivated by religion or hold strong convictions to the environment and universe as a whole. Of course, there are numerous counter-arguments and proof that the Earth is in fact round. However, this has not stopped the rise in conspiracy theories and deniers. Regardless of what shape the world is, I guess we are all stuck here, for better or for worse. Considered to be an occultist method of persuasion, subliminal advertising and messaging are often discussed as being sinister acts which are implemented by the government and advertising agencies to manipulate our minds and modify our behaviours. Some people get a feeling when adverts appear on our television screens, billboards and phones. Sensations such as hunger, desperation, and the need to buy something randomly occur on a whim. According to the theory, there is more to this than just good advertising. It is a carefully coordinated plan to force people to spend their money through trigger words, colours and feelings, which are implanted into the adverts themselves. Wilson Bryan Key, author of Subliminal Seduction, and Vance Packard, author of The Hidden Persuaders, both claim that subliminal messages were constantly developing and pushing one's subconscious to the extreme. Overexposure to constant advertising would render the human mind fragile and diminish the person's ability to resist the urge to make a purchase. Despite the books being thoroughly criticised, discredited, and FCC hearings rendering them vilified, we must remember that these were written in the late 50s and early 70s. All we have to do now is look at our phones to see the never-ending ads or pop-ups to know that they are surely onto something. An investigative stunt was pulled back in 1957 by market researcher James Vickery in an attempt to persuade cinemagoers to purchase food and drink by flashing "Eat popcorn" and "Drink Coca-Cola" messages briefly on the big screen. The idea was to implant the subconscious mind with instructions which would generate feelings of hunger and an instinctive need to purchase the confectionery, without even knowing how or why they felt this way. The practice was heavily criticised and outlawed in Western countries, with Vickery's reputation being heavily tarnished. This mounting pressure forced him to rescind his findings, claiming that it was a fabrication and a failure. However, as time has progressed and social media has taken over many young minds, the conspiracy surrounding subliminal advertising may not be so fake after all. Speaking of fake, many believe we were not told the truth about the 9/11 terrorist attacks. As mentioned earlier, the definition of conspiracy is to conspire or plot against something or someone. In the case of the September 11th terrorist attacks in New York City in 2001, this definition can certainly be attributed. As we have been told over the last 20 years, the horrifying events that occurred that day were planned and orchestrated by former Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden and his terrorist network. There were so many theories about what happened before, during and after the heinous attack on the World Trade Center towers, enough to fill a few videos on this channel alone. However, we will briefly look at a few. Many people say and claim that then President of the United States, George W. Bush, and his cabinet either staged the attacks or had insider knowledge of the plot in advance. Allowing them to happen would somehow justify the invasion of Iraq, as well as other consequential ventures. By conducting such a savage attack would unite the Western world together and subsequently make it easier to implant a new form of government, a new world order. Another claim which has garnered speculation amongst the aerial community is the belief that the jet fuel was incapable of melting the tower's steel beams, which, as we recall from watching those horrific images, both towers eventually collapsed at nearly freefall speed. The theory goes that explosives were somehow set off after the plane struck the towers, forcing them to collapse from the ground level. However, according to an official report, the planes are said to have caused major damage to the support columns within both towers, dislodging any fireproofing that would have protected them from a catastrophic scenario, one that unfortunately and subsequently occurred. According to the findings, the fires reached 1000 degrees Celsius in some areas of the towers, which apparently would have caused the steel beams to wrap and eventually collapse, bringing everything down with it. The horrors of that day in September 2001 is something that no one will ever forget. Unfortunately, the debates, theories and heartache remain very much in the public eye to this day. The tragic events that occurred on that fateful day in Paris will forever be shrouded in mystery. The car crash that ended her life on the 31st of August 1997 sparked a major backlash and suspicion against the royals, and was fueled by the father of her then boyfriend, Dodi Al-Fayed, who was also killed in the tunnel crash. Mohammed Al-Fayed, the Egyptian billionaire, whose prime interests and investments are situated in France and the United Kingdom, claimed that the couple were deliberately targeted and assassinated under direct instruction from members of the royal family. Theorists refer to the interview that Princess Diana participated in 1995 with British journalist Martin Bashir, where she spoke of her failing marriage to Prince Charles and his affection for Camilla Parker Bowles. Supporters of Diana, of which there were many, believe the interview was the catalyst for the hierarchy to take action and silence her, thus sealing her fate that night in Paris. An inquiry was established in 2006 to examine Al-Fayed's claims, but were eventually dismissed. The verdict from the coroner being that the conspiracy theory advanced by Mohammed Al-Fayed has been minutely examined and shown to be without any substance. The final conclusion was decided on April 7, 2008 by a full jury that Diana and Al-Fayed were unlawfully killed due to negligence by the intoxicated chauffeur who was attempting to evade the paparazzi. When one thinks of former President John F. Kennedy, we tend to think of his assassination on November 22, 1963 in Dallas, Texas. Despite occurring in broad daylight and with multiple angles being recorded and subsequently analysed, there is still no definitive conclusion to this conspiracy. There have been countless books and documentaries made on what really happened that day. Who pulled the trigger? Was it an inside job? Were there more than one shooter? Let's have a look at a couple of theories. In the 1975 book Appointment in Dallas, written by Hugh C. MacDonald, a former chief of detectives for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, a mysterious character named Saul is mentioned. According to MacDonald, Soviet intelligence officers had contacted a rogue CIA agent and assassin who went by the elusive nickname to arrange the killing of JFK. MacDonald worked for the CIA, conducting freelance operations and tasks, and seemingly met Saul at the agency's headquarters in Langley to discuss the claims. He would attempt to extract a confession from the hitman and continue to make the claim that Saul did indeed kill the president from a nearby building, which was situated across the street from where Oswald would take the fall. Another conspiracy theory that has lingered over the White House is that Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was the prime suspect in the collusion to kill Kennedy, that he gave the order to assassinate the popular president on that day in November. It is claimed that Johnson disagreed heavily with Kennedy's politics, proposals and beliefs, and so mapped out his own ruthless path to become the next commander-in-chief. Interestingly, former CIA agent and Watergate conspirator E. Howard Hunt made a statement to the government to categorically point the finger at Johnson as being the person who ordered the hit on Kennedy. So many claims, yet so few answers. We've barely scratched the surface here. You may have heard us talk about this relatively new conspiracy in the past, which focuses on the belief that the water condensation that emits from the back of aeroplanes is in fact poisonous chemicals, or chemtrails. If we pay attention to the cargo and passenger planes which glide across the sky every day, we see that they leave behind cloudy tracks. These are known as contrails and are made up of condensation. They generally disappear quickly in the atmosphere. The chemtrail theory has grown more and more prominent over the years, as numerous external factors seem to point towards a large governmental design to control humanity. The belief is that the trails of condensation are actually laced with scientifically engineered chemicals, which are being used to reduce the population and possibly control the minds of those existing within it. Weather manipulation, biological warfare tactics, and hallucinogenic drugs are also potential reasons to support the theory that the white mist is more than just water. Though there are many conclusive studies from various research centres and universities which suggest the contrary, many aerospace scientists are continuously defending themselves and their life's work from the paranoia, threats and constant attacks from the chemtrail community. It is understandably a terrifying concept, and very possible to orchestrate if true. We've touched on this subject before in the past, but it's definitely worth including in today's list due to the magnitude of beliefs, stories and conspiracies surrounding it. Built in the mid-1990s, Denver International Airport seems to be hiding its secrets in plain sight, with many suggesting it is the headquarters for the New World Order or Illuminati. After entering the airport, visitors are greeted with a variety of murals which illustrate heavily armed soldiers with gas masks, swords and guns, who seem to be protecting or governing a group of children. The argument as to what the murals represent has caught the attention of many. Some believe it is merely propaganda, depicting a future where everyone is happy and protected. Others believe it is a dystopian prophecy of an Orwellian existence. Another claim that relates to the one world government theory is the stone slab, which sits in the centre of the airport. Masonic symbols are carved into the stone, along with the words, New World Airport Commission. To cap it off, Denver Airport is by far the largest of its kind in the United States, extending over 135 square kilometers and employing more than 35,000 airport staff. It is rumored that there are countless tunnels beneath its grounds, leading many to believe that secret bunkers, laboratories, and possibly concentration camps exist within its subterranean complex. What do you think? Whilst we're on the topic of travelling, it was something we were not able to do for many years because of COVID. A more recent conspiracy doing the rounds is that the COVID-19 pandemic was simulated by the government and that classified technology is being used in conjunction with this global experiment. As with any universal disaster, the origins, reasons and fallout are under scrutiny in both the public eye as well as those who are willing to dig deeper to discover more than what is said on the evening news. Some question the validity of the coronavirus that has devastated the world over the past years. Some question when and where the virus was discovered or unleashed upon the population. Let's take a closer look. A popular theory is that doctors, scientists and mainstream media were lying about the statistics and causes of COVID-19 related deaths, attributing them to those which would more or less have occurred if the person was not infected. Elderly people, cancer sufferers, or other patients with low immune systems are seemingly added to the list of COVID-related casualties, even if they have never had the virus, or worse, that they died after receiving the vaccine. Whether it is the broadcasting of high statistics or our political leaders demanding that we mask up and stay in our homes, someone, somewhere, was either lying about the situation or making money from it, according to the theories. To tie in with this skeptical outlook, the COVID 5G conspiracy is now gathering traction around the world, as our technological infrastructure and network platforms are being manipulated by big tech organizations. Many believe that the electromagnetic frequencies from mobile phone towers diminish the immune system, therefore increasing the chances of becoming ill with COVID-19 and other illnesses. One final link to the chain of conspiracies is that the COVID-19 vaccines, which were rolled out across the world, actually contain tracking chips or other nefarious substances that connect to 5G networks, so the government can spy on every move. Politicians and scientific experts have denied these claims, but then again, people say they no longer trust these people. So, paranoia or truth? Lots of people have lost trust in the health industries. And that is because, in 2014, a research letter was submitted through JAMA Internal Medicine, a monthly peer-reviewed medical journal published by the American Medical Association. It stated that 37% of Americans believed that the Food and Drug Administration were hiding information pertaining to humans' ability to cure oneself naturally from cancer. Which brings us to our next conspiracy. JAMA concluded that the reason for this belief was due to large drug companies increasing pressure on local and international governments to grant them special allowances in order to make money, thus continuing to push their products on the population at large. Another study found that 20% of Americans believe that mobile telephones and cell towers actually increase or even cause cancer symptoms. A further 20% claim that doctors deliberately vaccinate young children with dangerous immunizations, despite being unsure of the consequences or long-term effects on the child's health. The National Cancer Institute denied the claims made by the large percentage, stating that there is no direct link between mobile networks and devices to the development of cancer in the body. Distrust in the government and Big Pharma shows no signs of slowing down or going anywhere or going away anytime soon, especially in today's modern world. And even more so if you believe the world is run by reptilian overlords. The lizard people concept has been promoted over the years by British conspiracy theorist David Icke and has garnered a major following in recent times. Often related to fears of a new world order or one world government, the purpose of these reptilian shapeshifters is to infiltrate and disguise themselves within major institutions and businesses across the globe in order to harness control of the world's population. This particular theory is partially inspired by the stories of H.P. Lovecraft and pamphlets such as Maurice Doreal's Mysteries of the Gobi. The latter was an American occultist, writer and founder of the Brotherhood of the White Temple, a theosophical occult organization established in 1903 in, you guessed it, Denver, Colorado. In his writings, Doreal spoke of a serpent race with bodies like a man but heads like a giant snake, who have the capabilities to manipulate and take human form. Those suspected of being reptilian overlords are members of the British royal family, including the late Queen Elizabeth II and her husband Prince Philip, who happens to have a history with UFOs and aliens, as well as rich, influential businessmen like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and the Rothschild dynasty. The internet is filled with videos that seemingly show evidence of lizard people walking around and behaving erratically in public, many of which are obviously fake, but this doesn't seem to detract those like Icke from encouraging the public to investigate further and delve deeper into this particular rabbit hole. So that's it for this video. We'd love to hear your thoughts and theories on these conspiracies in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and we'll see you again